Hey everybody, today we're at Crystal River National Wildlife Refuge and we're visiting Three Sisters Springs. And we spent some time in the water kayaking with manatees. We're going to show you some of that. And we also, we walked around the National Wildlife Refuge. There's a visitor center and you can come here and walk along a boardwalk and actually see the manatees from above. And we thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, it was great to see both perspectives.
Yeah.
And, we lived in Florida for several years, and this is my first time here. So it was really awesome to see the manatees from both perspectives.
Yeah, and you can actually, believe it or not, you can actually get a better view from above walking around the wildlife refuge on the boardwalk, especially when the sun shines down and the spring water is such a beautiful blue color. And the manatees just show up so bright when the sun shines.
Yeah, it's a really pretty day today. So today is March 1st. And manatees they come into the springs from around November to the end of March because the spring water is warmer than in the ocean where they are. So,
yeah, it's about 70 degrees in the spring water all the time.
Yes.
And it gets down into the low 60s, I think, Fahrenheit in the Gulf of Mexico.
Right.
So when it gets that cold, the manatees come into the warmer water where the springs are.
Yeah, this is beautiful. So we started early this morning. We had kayaks that we rented at 9 a.m. to beat a bit of the crowd, but I wouldn't consider it super crowded today.
No, it was busy
when
we were kayaking around the manatees. It gets kind of busy, especially with snorkelers in the water, because you have to avoid the snorkelers, and we didn't snorkel. We kind of wish that we did.
Next time.
Next
That's
time.
what I want to do. Even
next
if it's
time
cold.
we're gonna, it's chilly in the water, but we're gonna rent wetsuits next time and go snorkeling and get up close with the manatees.
Yeah, because snorkels actually can go into the Three Sisters
Right.
little cove area where they congregate.
Yeah, and we'll show you some of that. We'll show you how you can
Beautiful.
You can snorkel in there.
At 8:30 that morning, we arrived at Pier Marina for a kayak that we'd reserved for 9 a.m. with paddles, outdoor rentals, and tours. There were not many people here at the time, and we were very happy that we came here early. In fact, the next time that we come to see the manatees, we'll probably start even earlier at 8 a.m. when they're open, so that we can be one of the first ones out there with the manatees. We had some time to walk around before getting into the kayak, so we looked around at one of the gift shops and used the restroom facilities before spending 3 hours out on the water. Soon we were on the water, paddling our tandem kayak. The people at the dock were very friendly and professional. They showed us a map and explained how to get to Three Sisters Springs and helped us climb into and launch our kayak. It was a pleasant paddling experience on this warm morning, taking us about 15 minutes to paddle from Pier to Three Sisters Springs. We came out here on the 1st of March, which is late in the season for manatees. We were told by some of the manatee watch volunteers that it is best to come at the coldest times in January and early February to see the most manatees. We plan to come out here in January next year, and we'll choose one of the coldest days so we can show you the difference.
Soon we had our first view of manatees. This was a pair, likely a mother and her baby. Manatees move frequently between the springs and the Gulf of Mexico waters and can be seen in these canals as they move between these areas. The springs are warmer, which is critical for manatee survival during the colder months, but there is much more food available to the manatees in the Gulf of Mexico, so they go back there during periods of warmer weather. Manatees are herbivores and eat only plants and will eat some freshwater plants in the canals and around the springs, but their main diet is seagrass, which is present in the saltier waters in and near the Gulf. A manatee can weigh well over 1,000 pounds or 450 kilograms, and a manatee can eat about 4 to 9% of its body weight in plants daily, so they need to find a lot of food. Here is another pair swimming directly beneath our kayak. And then just before getting to the springs, we saw another large adult near the surface.
We made it to the springs, and this is where most of the manatees were congregated, near the source of the warmest water. There are manatee-safe zones roped off at the springs where boats and humans are not allowed to enter, giving the manatees places where they can rest without being bothered. It was common, though, for manatees to move in and out of the safe zones, so we had plenty of opportunities to see them up close. This one had an attached tracking tag floating on the surface and was probably a recent rescued and rehabilitated manatee. There were volunteers out here ensuring that humans did not get too close to the tagged manatee or go within the safe zones. When a tagged manatee comes near, they tell you to take the paddles out of the water and let the manatee pass. Most did not have tags though, and we were able to get relatively close. There were many young manatees out here and were staying close to their mothers. The crystal clear water made for some incredible views of these huge, docile animals. We didn't go in the water on this trip, but we were able to lower our camera down into the water for a better view. Here you can see several resting manatees and some very active catfish searching the bottom for food.
Manatees become significantly less active in the winter because there is less food available to them near the freshwater springs, while their bodies need to use energy to maintain their body temperature in the cooler water. Cold stress is a serious risk to manatees when the water temperature drops below 68 degrees Fahrenheit, so they congregate in the 70+ degree waters near the springs and spend most of their time resting on the bottom. Most of the manatees were sitting very still on the bottom, but occasionally we would see one swim in or out of the safe zone. Every once in a while, we would see one come up to the surface for air. On this warm March day, there were about 50 manatees in this area, but at times, when the weather is very cold, there have been up to 500 here. That would be an incredible sight to see. Occasionally, a manatee would swim very slowly beneath our kayak, moving to or from the safe area. This one decided to have a rest directly beneath us. Just look at that cute nose buried in the bottom. Eventually, its rest was finished, and it made the rest of the journey over to the safe zone. It swam slowly beneath our kayak like a giant spaceship, and then we suddenly noticed that another manatee was swimming right behind it.
We had so many incredible views of manatees out here that we could have happily stayed all day watching these gentle giants slowly swim and rest in their warm water paradise. But it was time for us to start heading back, and we said goodbye to Three Sister Springs and this incredible congregation of manatees. We did see a few more manatees in the canals when paddling back, and we wished them well on their journey back to the Gulf of Mexico. We also encountered several turtles that we thought were very cute. Before returning our kayak, we decided to visit Hunter Springs, just north of Three Sisters. This area was much more crowded because there are swimming areas accessible from the shore. It was beautiful though, and there were a few manatees in and around the swimming areas. We enjoy seeing this area, but for manatee viewing, we much prefer Three Sisters Springs. When we returned our kayak around 12 p.m., the kayak rental area and dock were much more crowded than when we arrived. We were very happy that we came early and were pretty much the only visitors here at 9 a.m.
After kayaking, we had a delicious lunch at a nearby restaurant called Waterfront Social. I had a poke bowl with tuna, and Cassandra had the famous fish tacos. We were very happy with both choices, and the view here was incredible. Next, we wanted to find a location to view the manatees from the surface, hoping that we could get some better views from a higher vantage point. We parked near the Three Sisters Springs Visitor Center and walked over to the Crystal River National Wildlife Refuge, which was about a 5-minute walk. When we arrived, we thought that the entry fee for adults seemed a bit too expensive at $20 each, but after spending some time here, decided that the unique experience of this incredible place was well worth the cost of admission. We started with a pleasant nature walk along a gravel path where there were several possible routes to take through dry and wetlands habitats. We were here to see the manatees though, so we decided to take the shortest route to get to the springs. We arrived at a wooden tree-lined boardwalk, and through the trees we could see beautiful bright blue pools of water and could even see some manatees. We walked around the boardwalk that goes all the way around the springs, providing many different viewpoints for watching the manatees. There are some information boards here to help visitors learn about the area and the manatees, and there are also volunteer workers who provide information, answer questions, and make sure that humans do not disturb the manatees.
We found several observation points that allow unobstructed views of the springs. There were many manatees here that we could easily see from above, and when the sun came out and illuminated the pools, the water was a brilliant blue, and the manatees were very easy to see. The 3 springs, named Pretty Sister, Big Sister, and Little Sister, are right here in these pools. As the water comes up from the ground, it is exceptionally clean and crystal clear, while the high mineral content and white sandy bottom of the pools give the water its brilliant blue color, especially in bright sunlight. And of course, this is a source of the warm water that the manatees are seeking. So this is one of their favorite places to rest and warm up in the winter months. This gives us an incredible opportunity to see these magnificent creatures in their pristine, beautiful natural environment, and seeing them here is a breathtaking sight. Walking around the boardwalk to different viewpoints, we were able to get some even closer views of the manatees. Occasionally, one would come up to the surface to breathe, and we could hear a loud snorting sound as it exhaled and then took a breath of air. Especially one small manatee that was very entertaining to the large group of people watching.
People are allowed to swim and snorkel near the springs, but there are safe areas for the manatees where swimmers are not allowed. Notice the rope on the left designating the line that swimmers are not allowed to cross. There are several snorkelers waiting behind the rope, hoping that a manatee will decide to come closer. We saw many manatees swimming in and out of the springs, coming very close to the snorkelers, so they did get some close-up views of the manatees. It is very important for snorkelers to swim slowly and not disturb any of the manatees. There are volunteer observers both on the boardwalk and in the water, making sure that people in the water follow the rules. Here are 3 manatees coming into the springs from the surrounding water. They are about to swim right past the snorkelers to move into the safe area with the other manatees. There is a tour guide leading this group of snorkelers, showing them how to carefully observe the manatees without disturbing them. I would say that these snorkelers are having the experience of a lifetime. There is a small channel leading to the springs area from the surrounding water, and we could see manatees frequently swimming into this narrow waterway. To the left, you can see kayaks in the water, and this is where we were kayaking earlier in the day.
Notice these 2 young swimmers coming toward the spring area. They do not have masks on to look underwater, so they didn't even notice the huge manatee swimming right next to them. One of the volunteer observers on the boardwalk told these 2 swimmers that the manatee was there and that they should stop swimming and let it pass. They finally saw the manatee right next to them and had a very surprising close encounter. After checking out the entrance to the springs, we spent about another 30 minutes walking around the entire perimeter of the springs along the boardwalk, looking through the trees and stopping at all the observation points to find all the best views of manatees. There were small areas with dense groups of manatees, and there were quiet alcoves with only 1 or 2 manatees. We walked all the way around to the main waterway on the other side in one of the areas where we kayaked earlier, where there were many manatees in a roped-off alcove that we could only see when they occasionally came up to the surface to take a breath.
Finally, on the way out, we just had to catch one more glimpse of the manatees from the main viewing area before saying goodbye until next manatee season. Next year, we plan to come during the coldest time in January to see as many as possible, and we plan to get in the water with them to get as close as possible. See you soon, manatees. If you enjoyed this wildlife encounter video, please subscribe to our channel and check out our encounter with huge wild stingrays in the Cayman Islands at the world-famous Stingray City. While we were there, we also had an incredible encounter with a wild sea turtle. If you love marine life, you will definitely want to see this video. See you there!